Marvel's Spider-Man 2 has already caused a bit of controversy over Mary Jane's newest remodel, and while people aren't happy about it has caused quite a storm on social media. GameRant has actually put out an article saying the title is suffering from a gross controversy simply because of sexism. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. So, I had already previously talked about Mary Jane's latest remodel in another video, and this is not really a new topic because we initially had gotten the first look, like a sneak peek at her newest model back in August, and the reason why it has blown up again recently is simply because we've seen a lot more footage of her, we've seen a lot more screenshots of her, there's just a lot more to go off of. But this is actually an article back from August that I guess I missed and a lot of other people missed, but it calls out anyone criticizing her remodel, saying you're just sexist. It says Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is suffering from the same gross controversy as the Dead Space remake. While there is plenty to be excited about with Marvel's Spider-Man 2, a portion of the fanbase is embarrassing itself, just like with the Dead Space remake. Of course, we are not allowed to have our own opinions. We have to have the same opinions that these people do, these hack journalists, because otherwise we're just terrible people. It says, the Marvel Spider-Man franchise is no stranger to controversy, and unfortunately, Spider-Man 2 is a continuation of this trend. The original game saw certain players embarrassing themselves with Puddlegate, unbearable suit demands, and genuine hostility toward Insomniac over a face change. We already have seen character remodels in the past, namely with Peter Parker. He was face swapped because they tried to make him look more like Tom Holland, and it looked terrible. I mean, the newer model just looked awful. And the original MJ model looked fantastic. She was very feminine. She looked youthful. She just looked very pretty overall. But this newest model, while it is not ugly or like the worst model I've ever seen, she definitely doesn't look the same. And she looks older. She looks like she's a 35-year-old woman, even though the games technically only take place a year separated from each other. There's only a year in between that separates them. And unfortunately, to these people, we're not allowed to criticize anything, or else we're just awful. It says, with Marvel's Spider-Man 2 around the corner, criticism has shifted towards swinging animation, Miles' haircut, and just like with the Dead Space remake, a female character too old for some players' liking. It's not that we do not like older female characters in video games. The problem is that she is still a, in her 20s, younger female character that already had a great previous model that everybody knew and everybody loved. And now you're just changing her, and people are allowed to criticize that. That's why people are upset that she appears too old, because it doesn't fit MJ's description. It says this would not be the first time that players have been critical of Mary Jane Watson's design, despite the character having a different backstory in Insomniac Games' universe, as she is a risk-taking reporter instead of flirtatious supermodel. Several gamers complained about MJ not being pretty enough in the first game. It's just a different type of pretty, because yes, MJ was originally supposed to be like a bombshell, this super gorgeous girl, but in the first Spider-Man game, they did decide to make her, more of a feminine, cute, pretty, and while that was criticized, people were still happy with this model. It just was a different take on MJ, and nobody was really that angry all those years ago. People did criticize it, but that is, that is all that it got to. That's all that people really said about it, was that she's just a different type of pretty. But now people are criticizing this new model because she looks completely different. It says, though, these gross complaints are nothing new, as unsavory figures on the internet have tried to fix female characters like Aloy and Fable's protagonist through image edits, but the sexism does not stop there. We are talking about fictional characters. People do this with fictional male characters. People do this with fictional female characters. At the end of the day, it really should not matter because these are just fan edits, fan character designs. That's not a problem. And yes, these are the characters that we're talking about. I mean, Aloy, the same thing happened to her. She went from being, a very pretty feminine character to looking like that. I mean, that is not the Aloy in any way, shape, or form that we previously knew. And yes, people are going to criticize this new MJ design. It says, though, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 MJ and Dead Space remakes Nicole reflect the ugly side of gaming. Ever since Insomniac Games released the second title's story trailer, the internet had been filled with posts about the game's character designs. While some players still refuse to accept Peter's new model, it is Mary Jane Watson who has been the target of most criticism. But it's also fair to point out that they, of course, don't do here, is that years ago when they changed Peter Parker's model and made him look more like Tom Holland, everybody hated the new character redesign and everybody criticized that, but he was a male character. They're not pointing out here that we are fully willing and capable and have in the past criticized male characters too. It's not like we're just targeting female characters and just criticizing female characters. In this situation, yes, we are criticizing MJ, but it's not just because, oh, she's a woman and we need to complain about women. I mean, it is absurd the lengths that these people will go to in order to label us, ists or phobes. It says, while some gamers appreciate the new design, the others are concerned because they believe it looks too different to MJ's design from the first game. It does. She does look much older. And again, it's still a pretty character, right? It's not like the worst looking character ever, but she just looks drastically different. She does not look like the previous model at all. I mean, even down to her hair. I like the new hairstyle, but the color, you barely can pass this as a ginger or a red anything. I mean, it's not the same tone at all as the previous model. It's just unfortunate that this has happened yet again, that time and time again we see characters redesigned going into sequels, and we're not allowed to criticize it because we will be called terrible things simply because, hey, we don't like the newest design of this fictional character. But yeah, I mean, they are just saying that the second game is suffering from the same gross controversy as the Dead Space remake, all because we are criticizing a fictional female character. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.